The night was quiet in the small town. Most houses were dark, and only the sound of crickets filled the air. Inside an old workshop, a mechanic sat alone. His hands were covered in oil, his eyes fixed on a broken engine that refused to start. He was tired, but work was all he had. The smell of iron and smoke floated in the room, mixed with the soft hum of tools. He did not know that tonight would change his life forever. The mechanic wiped his forehead and leaned back on his chair. He was used to silence, but suddenly he felt something strange. The air grew heavy like a storm was coming, but the sky outside was clear. His workshop door, which was locked, gave a slow creak. At first he thought it was the wind, but then he realized there was no wind at all. He frowned and picked up a wrench, ready to face whoever dared to enter. But what he saw made his heart almost stop. A small creature stepped into the workshop. Its skin glowed faintly, like soft blue fire under its scales. Its eyes were big and round, filled with fear but also hope. It was a baby dragon. The mechanic froze. Dragons were only found in old stories told by travelers and children. They were believed to be extinct, destroyed by humans long ago. Yet here it was, standing in front of him, breathing fast as if it had been running for miles. The mechanic's hand shook as he held the wrench tighter. His mind screamed to run, but his legs refused to move. The baby dragon did not roar or spread its wings. Instead, it spoke in a trembling voice, a voice that sounded young but carried sadness inside. "Please, human, help us." The mechanic dropped his wrench. He had never heard a dragon talk before. He thought maybe he was dreaming, but the fear in the baby's voice was real. His eyes shifted, and then he saw it, a huge shadow behind the little one. The ground seemed to shake as the shadow moved forward. From the darkness came a massive dragon. Its body was strong, but its movements were weak. Its scales, once shining like steel, were now cracked and dull. Smoke escaped its mouth, not fire. Its wings hung low as if too heavy to lift. The mother dragon was sick, her breath deep and painful. She looked like she had been fighting a long battle against something invisible. Every sound she made was like thunder rolling in the mechanic's ears. The mechanic stepped back, his back pressing against the wall. His mind told him to escape, but his eyes were locked on the baby. The little dragon looked at him with tears in its glowing eyes. "Please," it repeated. "Mother will die." Those words pierced the silence of the workshop. The mechanic's fear mixed with confusion. Dragons were supposed to be enemies of man, creatures of fire and destruction. Yet here was a child, begging for help like any human child would. The mother dragon lowered her head, coughing, her chest rising and falling with difficulty. For a moment the mechanic saw no monster, only a mother fighting for her life. His heart pounded. He wanted to believe it was a trick, some illusion meant to lure him. But the pain in her eyes told another story. The mechanic's fingers loosened and the wrench fell with a loud clang on the floor. The sound echoed, but neither dragon moved to attack him. They were not here for war. They were here for mercy. The mechanic's workshop, once a place of broken machines and old engines, now became something else. The air was filled with the heavy breathing of the mother dragon, the glowing tears of the baby, and the pounding heart of the man who stood between fear and compassion. He had no idea how to help a dragon. He was just a mechanic, not a healer. Yet in that moment he felt the weight of the baby's plea pressing down on him. "Please, human, help us." The silence after those words was louder than thunder. The mechanic swallowed hard. His whole life he had believed dragons were killers, but now one stood before him dying. He looked at the baby again, so small yet so brave to walk into the home of a human. He realized something important. If the child trusted him, then maybe it saw something in him he could not see himself. His heart softened, but his mind stayed sharp. This was dangerous. This was impossible. But maybe, just maybe, it was also a chance to do something no man had ever done before. The mother dragon let out a deep groan and lowered her massive head near the mechanic's feet. Her glowing eyes met his for just a second, and in that second he felt something powerful. It was not hate, not anger. It was pain and perhaps even trust. The mechanic could not explain why, but he understood that this dragon was not his enemy. She was a mother who wanted to live for her child. The workshop lights flickered as if the very air reacted to the dragon's presence. The mechanic's chest rose and fell fast. His fear had not gone, but curiosity and compassion started to push through. Could he help? Should he even try? He looked at the baby dragon once more. The glowing little creature stepped closer, voice shaking but clear. "You are the only one who can save her." The mechanic stood in silence, surrounded by the smell of oil, smoke and dragon breath. His world of machines and engines had just collided with a world of fire and myths. Something inside him whispered that his life would never be the same again. The mechanic stood frozen, his heart still racing from the shock of what he had just seen. A baby dragon in his workshop speaking with a voice full of fear, and behind it a giant mother dragon struggling to stay alive. He tried to calm his breathing, but his hands still shook. This could not be real, he told himself. Dragons were stories, myths, nothing more. Yet the sound of the mother's weak growl and the glow in the baby's eyes told him this was no dream. For a long moment, nobody moved. The mechanic's eyes darted from the baby to the mother. He felt the heavy weight of the baby's words echoing in his ears. Please, human, help us. Mother will die. He wanted to turn away, to say he could not do anything, but something in that small voice kept him standing there. It was not the voice of a monster. It was the voice of a desperate child. The mechanic's mind battled with his fear. He was only a man, a fixer of broken machines and rusty engines. He had never treated even a sick animal, let alone a dragon, and these were creatures humans once feared. Should he help them, or should he protect himself? His thoughts twisted back and forth like gears in an old machine. If he said no, the baby would suffer. If he said yes, he risked his own life. The baby dragon stepped closer, its claws clicking lightly on the metal floor of the workshop. Its glowing eyes locked onto the mechanic, wide with hope and terror. You must, it whispered, voice shaking. You are the only one who can save her. The mechanic felt a chill crawl down his spine. Why him? Why here? He was not a doctor, not a hero. He was just a lonely man surrounded by tools. Still, the baby looked at him as if he were their last chance. The mother dragon's chest rose and fell with painful effort. Her great wings drooped low, and her breaths came out in rough, broken sounds, each one louder than the hum of the machines in the workshop. Smoke curled from her nostrils, but it was not fire, only weak and gray like dying embers. The mechanic saw her massive body tremble, and for a brief second he forgot his fear. All he saw was suffering. He pressed his back against the wall, unsure of what to do. Why me? He whispered under his breath, though he did not expect an answer. To his surprise, the baby dragon replied, Because you fix things. You fix broken metal. Maybe you can fix her too. The mechanic's stomach twisted. It was true. He was good at repairing machines, but this was no machine. This was a living creature with scales, blood, and a heart. Yet as he looked closer, he noticed something strange on the mother dragon's body. Between her cracked scales, something shimmered. It looked almost metallic, like pieces of wire or shards of black steel growing inside her skin. The mechanic's eyes narrowed. It was not a natural sickness. Something was wrong, something made by hands, not nature. That thought made his heart pound even harder. Maybe this was not impossible after all. Maybe his skills could matter. The baby dragon's voice broke the silence again. If you do nothing, she will die tonight. The words stabbed into the mechanic's chest. He thought of the times in his life when he had begged for help and received none. He remembered the cold nights when he wished someone would come and save him, but no one did. Now here he was in the same position with the chance to do what no one had done for him. Still, fear pressed heavy on him. He stepped closer, then back, his boots scraping the floor. What if she hurts me? He asked, almost to himself. The baby shook its head quickly. She won't, she is too weak. She trusts you. That is why we came. The mechanic looked into the mother dragon's half-closed eyes. They glowed faintly, not with rage, but with exhaustion. And deep inside, he thought he saw something that surprised him. Trust. The baby nudged its mother gently with its head, then turned back to the mechanic. Please, it said again, softer this time. You are our only hope. The words made the mechanic's chest feel heavy. He dropped his wrench to the floor, the loud clang echoing around the workshop. His hands no longer held a weapon. He could not fight them, and maybe he didn't want to. He took a small step forward, cautious but steady. The workshop, filled with tools and machines, suddenly felt like the stage of a test. His choice would decide if a great creature lived or died. He imagined what others would say if they saw this. They would call him a fool for helping a dragon. But when he looked at the baby, he saw no monster, only a child begging for its mother's life. His mind still screamed with doubt, but his heart spoke louder. He could not walk away. He could not let the child watch its mother die without even trying. I don't know what I can do, he said quietly, his voice trembling, but I will try. The baby's eyes lit up with sudden hope, shining brighter than before. The mother dragon let out a low, grateful sound, almost like a sigh of relief. Her great head rested against the floor, her eyes closing halfway. The baby hurried to her side, curling close as if to protect her. The mechanic stood there, his breath unsteady, realizing the path he had just chosen. He was stepping into a world far beyond his own, and there was no turning back now. He did not know what awaited him, but one thing was certain. His life as an ordinary mechanic had ended the moment that baby dragon walked through his door. The mechanic's workshop was silent, except for the heavy, rough breathing of the mother dragon. The baby dragon stayed close to her, its glowing eyes filled with fear but also hope, as if waiting for the man to do something. The mechanic stood still for a moment, his mind racing. He had promised to try, but he had no idea how. He was not a healer. He had never treated a living creature like this before. All he had were his tools, wires, and machines. But the promise was made, and breaking it felt impossible now. He took a slow breath and stepped closer to the mother dragon. His boots made soft noises on the dusty floor, and with each step the air grew warmer, heavy with the faint smoke that escaped her nostrils. The baby dragon watched every move he made, its small claws gripping the floor tightly. The mechanic's heart beat fast, but his hands began to steady as he got closer. Fear was still there, but something else grew stronger: determination. The mother dragon's massive body lay stretched across half the workshop. Her wings drooped against the ground, cracked in places like old leather. Her scales, which should have been shining silver, were dull and broken. The mechanic crouched near her chest, his eyes sharp, scanning like he would when inspecting a broken machine. At first he only saw the surface: scratches, dirt, weak breaths. But then he noticed something strange, something that didn't belong. Between the cracks of her scales, a faint shimmer appeared. The mechanic leaned closer, narrowing his eyes. At first he thought it was just light reflecting from the lamps, but when he touched the area with a small tool, he felt it: cold, hard, and metallic. He carefully pried the scale upward just a little, and his stomach twisted at the sight. Thin, black wires spread under her skin like roots of a dying tree. They pulsed faintly, moving as if alive. The mechanic pulled back, his heart pounding. This was no natural illness. It looked like some kind of infection, but not made by nature, made by machines. The wires seemed to crawl through her body, digging deeper, choking her strength. It was like a poison, but built from metal and technology. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "This is not sickness. This is sabotage." The baby dragon tilted its head, confused. "What do you mean?" it asked softly. The mechanic looked at the little one, then back at the wires. He shook his head, still trying to understand. "Someone did this to her. This isn't a normal wound. It's a machine, a parasite. Someone planted it inside her." He grabbed a small scanning device from his workbench and held it near the infected area. The device beeped and flashed red, showing strange signals. It confirmed what his eyes already knew. The infection wasn't natural. It was mechanical, almost like nanotechnology crawling under her skin. The mechanic's hands tightened around the scanner. Someone had attacked this dragon with human-made machines. Someone wanted her dead. The mother dragon let out a deep groan, her body trembling. The wires pulsed faster, almost reacting to the scan as if they didn't want to be discovered. The mechanic jumped back slightly, realizing the infection was alive in some way, fighting back against his presence. He felt anger boiling inside him. This wasn't just about a dying dragon anymore. This was about cruelty, about someone out there creating weapons to destroy life. He stood slowly, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't just about saving her," he muttered. "This is about stopping whatever did this." His voice was low, but the baby dragon heard. Its small body shook and tears formed again in its glowing eyes. "Can you help her?" the baby asked, desperate. The mechanic looked at the tools around him, then back at the infected dragon. His mind turned like gears inside an engine. He didn't know if he could cure her, but if the infection was machine-based, maybe he could fight it with machines. Maybe he could use his knowledge to create something to push it out. For the first time, he felt like his skills might actually mean something. He reached out again, gently placing his hand near the dragon's chest, feeling the heat of her skin and the weak but steady beat of her heart. "She's strong," he said softly, almost to himself. "She's holding on. If I can find a way to cut this infection out, she might survive." The baby dragon's eyes widened with sudden hope. "Then you will save her?" it asked quickly. The mechanic hesitated, then nodded. I'll try, but this won't be easy. Whoever made this infection knew what they were doing. It's not just a wound, and it's a trap. He stood up, his mind already racing with ideas. He thought of magnets, of purifiers, of machines that could send waves strong enough to fight the wires. He thought of using heat to burn them away or electricity to cut their signals. Each idea felt dangerous, risky, but the alternative was worse, doing nothing. The mother dragon let out a weak cough, smoke spilling onto the floor. The mechanic clenched his fists. He had seen broken engines, shattered metal, and twisted circuits, but this was different. This was life, and life was slipping away in front of him. He turned to the baby dragon and said firmly, I need time. I need to build something that can fight this. But you must keep her strong. Don't let her give up. The baby nodded quickly, rushing to its mother's side, pressing its small body against hers as if its warmth could keep her alive. The mechanic walked to his workbench, pulling tools, wires, and spare parts onto the table. His hands moved faster than his fear. He was entering unknown territory, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't walk away. Not now. As the sound of clattering metal filled the workshop, the mother dragon let out another low groan. The baby whispered softly to her, He will help, Mother. He will fix you, he promised. The mechanic heard the words, and for the first time in many years he felt the weight of a promise that truly mattered. His heart burned with determination, and though doubt lingered, he whispered to himself, I won't let her die. Not like this. And so in the quiet workshop filled with smoke, oil, and the glow of dragon eyes, a simple mechanic prepared to battle an enemy he could not yet see. An enemy hiding inside the body of a dying dragon. The mechanic's workshop was no longer just a place for broken machines. It had become a battlefield of silence, smoke, and fear. The mother dragon lay weak on the floor, her breathing heavy, the strange black wires crawling under her scales like snakes. The mechanic worked at his table, searching through tools, piecing together parts, his mind spinning with ideas on how to fight the infection. But the truth still burned in his thoughts. This was no natural illness. Someone had made this. Someone wanted these dragons gone. The baby dragon sat close to its mother, glowing eyes never leaving her face. It whispered soft words in a language the mechanic didn't fully understand, but he knew the meaning. They were words of comfort, of love, of a child begging its mother to stay alive. Every time the mother coughed, the baby's body shook, as if each sound was breaking it apart inside. The mechanic glanced at them, his heart heavy. He had promised to help, but he needed to know more. He needed answers. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and crouched beside the baby dragon. Tell me, he said in a calm but serious voice, and how did this happen? Who did this to her? The baby looked at him with wide eyes, fear and pain mixing together. For a moment it stayed silent, but then it spoke in a voice that trembled. Humans, the mechanic froze. He had suspected it, but hearing the word struck him like a hammer. Humans? He repeated. The baby nodded. Long ago humans hunted us. They wanted our fire, our wings, our blood. Many of us died. Some of us escaped. We hid deep under the mountains where no one could find us. My mother kept me safe. We thought the war was over. We thought humans had forgotten us. But we were wrong. The mechanic's stomach turned. He had grown up hearing stories of dragons as monsters, creatures that burned villages and killed men. But hearing the story from the baby dragon's mouth was different. It didn't sound like monsters. It sounded like victims. He leaned in closer, his voice low. And this sickness, these wires. The baby's eyes darkened. They are not sickness. They are machines. They came with the humans who found us. Flying machines with no eyes, no mouths. They attacked without mercy. They shot fire that was not real fire, but something stronger. They struck my mother, and these black things crawled into her body. She fought them, but they spread. She grew weaker every day. We ran, we hid, and then we came here, to you. The mechanic felt a chill run through him. Machines with human insignias, weapons designed to hunt dragons. He imagined cold, heartless drones tearing through the skies, chasing the last survivors of a dying species. His hands clenched tightly around his wrench. This wasn't just an accident. It was a plan. Someone powerful, someone with resources, was trying to erase the dragons completely. He stood up and paced the workshop, his boots echoing against the floor. His mind was racing. Who would do this? Governments? Secret armies? Rich men chasing power? Whoever it was, they weren't just after one dragon. They wanted them all gone. The infection inside the mother's body was proof. It was too advanced, too cruel to be anything else. The baby dragon's voice cut into his thoughts again. Humans will not stop until we are all dead. That is why we came to you. We cannot trust the others. But maybe you are different. The words hit the mechanic hard. He looked back at the baby, at its small, glowing body pressed against its mother's giant frame. They had no one else. He was their last hope. The mother dragon groaned, her massive body trembling as the infection pulsed again. The wires beneath her scales seemed to shimmer, as if mocking the mechanic, daring him to try and stop them. His jaw tightened. If humans did this, he whispered, then humans can undo it. And I'll be damned if I let her die because of them. The baby's eyes widened, filled with sudden hope. You mean you will fight it? The mechanic nodded, though doubt still gnawed at him inside. I'll fight it. I don't know how yet, but I will. Whoever made this, they won't win. He turned back to his table, pulling more parts together. Sparks flew as he connected wires, hammered metal, and sketched quick designs. He thought about magnets, about waves of electricity that could burn out the parasites. He thought about using sound, about vibrations that could shake them loose. Each idea came with risk, but risk didn't matter anymore. The baby dragon crawled closer, watching him work. Why are you helping us? It asked quietly. The mechanic paused, his hands still on the tools. For a long moment he didn't answer. Then in a low voice he said, Because once I needed help too, and no one came. His eyes flicked toward the mother dragon, then back to his work. I won't let that happen again. Not if I can stop it. The workshop filled with the sound of clattering tools and the soft hum of machines coming to life. The baby pressed closer to its mother, whispering gently, He will save you. He will try. The mother's glowing eyes opened halfway, and for a moment they locked onto the mechanic. In that look he felt something powerful. Trust, fragile but real. He swallowed hard and whispered to himself, This isn't just about fixing her. This is about finding out who's behind this, and stopping them. Outside the workshop the night was calm, the town silent. But somewhere far beyond, in the shadows, the enemy who had sent those machines was still out there, waiting, planning. And inside the workshop, a mechanic, once just a man of wires and engines, had just stepped into a war far bigger than anything he had ever known. The mechanic worked through the night, his hands moving fast, pulling out wires, tools, and broken pieces from old machines scattered around his workshop. Sparks flew as he hammered and welded, his eyes focused, his mind racing. He knew he was running out of time. Every few minutes his eyes went back to the mother dragon. Her breaths were slower, heavier. Her chest rose and fell like a great machine that was about to shut down. The baby dragon stayed by her side, pressing its small glowing body against her, whispering softly, begging her not to leave. The mechanic could feel the pressure building inside him. He had made a promise, but how could a simple man who only fixed cars and machines fight against something built by advanced technology, something made to kill dragons? He wanted to believe he could do it, but doubt clawed at him. His hands shook as he tightened a bolt on his device. He told himself to stay calm, to think like he always did when faced with a broken engine. Every problem had a solution, even if it wasn't clear at first. The infection inside the mother dragon pulsed again, glowing faintly under her cracked scales. The mechanic could see it moving, spreading like black veins of poison. It was cruel, almost alive, eating her from the inside out. He clenched his fists. Whoever made this machine infection wanted her to suffer slowly. He could not allow that, not while the baby begged him with tearful eyes. He stopped for a moment, wiping sweat from his face. The baby dragon turned its head toward him. You will save her, won't you? It asked, its voice breaking. The mechanic looked into those glowing eyes, and for a moment he saw his own child. Years ago his daughter had been sick. He had carried her to doctors, begged for help, prayed for miracles. But no one could save her. She died in his arms, her tiny hand slipping from his fingers forever. That memory never left him. It haunted his nights, followed him in every quiet moment. And now, looking at this baby dragon holding on to hope, he felt the same fear, the same helplessness. He whispered to himself, not again. I won't lose another life. Not this time. With new determination, he turned back to his work. He pulled out an old generator, wires sparking as he connected them. He built a small machine with coils and magnets designed to send powerful pulses of energy. His plan was dangerous, use the pulses to burn out the parasite wires inside the mother dragon. But the risk was high. If the machine was too strong, it could kill her. If it was too weak, the infection would keep spreading. He had to find the perfect balance, and he had almost no time. The baby dragon moved closer, watching the mechanic's hands. "Will it hurt her?" it asked softly. The mechanic paused. "Yes," he admitted, his voice heavy. "But if I don't try, she will die anyway." The baby looked down, silent for a moment, then nodded bravely. "Then do it. Save her." The mechanic tested the machine, the hum of electricity filling the workshop. The lights flickered, shadows dancing on the walls. The baby flinched at the sound, but the mechanic kept working. His hands moved with speed and purpose, his mind focused only on one thing: saving her. Each spark, each vibration of the machine was a step toward hope. Then the sound outside changed. At first it was faint, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. But soon it grew louder, a sharp buzz like the wings of giant insects. The mechanic froze, listening. The baby dragon's head snapped up, its eyes wide with fear. "They're coming," it whispered. The mechanic ran to the door, looking out into the night. In the distance, small lights moved in the sky. Machines. Drones. They were searching, and they had found them. Panic surged inside the workshop. The mother dragon groaned, too weak to even lift her head. The baby pressed close to her, its body shaking. The mechanic's machine was not ready yet, but he had no choice. The enemy was almost here. He turned to the baby. "We don't have time. I need to finish this, and you need to protect her." The baby looked terrified, but it stood tall, fire glowing faintly in its throat. "I will fight," it said bravely, though its voice trembled. The mechanic rushed back to his workbench, connecting the last wires. His hands moved faster than they ever had before. The drone's buzzing grew louder, the red lights now visible through the workshop windows. Shadows flickered on the walls as they drew closer. The mechanic's heart pounded. This was not just about repairing a machine anymore. This was about survival. He remembered his daughter again, the night she slipped away, the helplessness in his heart. He would not feel that again. Not tonight. He slammed the last piece into place, and the machine roared to life, humming with power. The baby dragon looked at him, eyes full of both fear and trust. The mechanic grabbed the machine, his voice firm and steady. "We have one chance. Hold her still. Whatever happens, don't let go of her." The baby nodded, pressing its body against its mother's neck, whispering softly, "Hold on, mother. He will save you. Just hold on." The mechanic lifted the machine, the humming filling the air like the sound of thunder. His hands trembled, but his voice was strong. "I will save you," he whispered to the dragon. "I promise." And outside, the buzzing drones closed in, ready to strike. The night outside the workshop broke apart with a low, terrifying buzz. The mechanic could hear it coming closer, the sound of metal wings slicing through the air. His stomach tightened. He knew what it was. Drones. The same kind of machines that had poisoned the mother dragon were now hunting them. Their red lights cut through the darkness like evil eyes. Inside the workshop, the mother dragon lay weak, her breaths uneven, her chest rising and falling like a dying fire. The black wires under her scales pulsed as if they could sense the danger outside. The baby dragon pressed close to her, its glowing eyes wide with fear. It trembled but tried to look strong. The mechanic stood at his workbench, his half-finished machine glowing and humming with unstable energy. His heart pounded so loud he could barely hear his own thoughts. He whispered under his breath, "We don't have time. We don't have time." The buzz grew louder until it filled the air, echoing against the walls of the workshop. Then the first drone appeared in the window. Its red eye glowed, scanning, and then it locked onto them. A sharp screech filled the night as the machine fired a beam of light, burning a hole into the wall. Wood splintered and sparks flew. The baby dragon cried out, jumping back in fear. The mechanic grabbed a metal rod and shouted, "Get away from the windows!" The door burst open with a crash as two more drones entered, their wings slicing the air, their weapons glowing with deadly light. The mechanic's workshop became a battlefield. The machines swarmed inside, fast and precise, their bodies shining with steel and wires. The mechanic felt his throat dry with fear, but his hands tightened around the rod. He was just a man, but he could not back down now. One of the drones aimed at the mother dragon. Before it could fire, the baby dragon let out a burst of flame. The fire wasn't strong, but it was enough to knock the drone back, its metal body smoking. The baby stood in front of its mother, its small chest rising bravely. "Stay away," it cried. The mechanic's heart swelled with both fear and pride at the sight of the tiny dragon fighting against such monsters. Another drone flew straight at the mechanic. He swung the rod with all his strength, sparks flying as the metal hit metal. The drone screeched and spun back, but more were coming. The air was filled with their buzzing, their weapons glowing brighter. The mechanic knew he couldn't fight them all with just a rod. His eyes darted to the machine he had built. It wasn't ready, but it was their only chance. He rushed to the table, flipping switches, his fingers flying over the controls. The machine roared to life, humming with a dangerous sound, shaking the floor under his feet. The baby dragon looked at him with hope, but fear shone in its eyes. "Will it work?" it asked. The mechanic didn't answer. He wasn't sure himself. The drones fired again, beams of light cutting through the shelves, sending sparks and flames across the workshop. The air filled with smoke. The mechanic coughed, his eyes burning, but he didn't stop. He dragged the machine toward the mother dragon. The wires sparked, the coils glowing, the energy pulsing like a heartbeat. "Hold her down," he shouted to the baby dragon. The baby pressed its body against its mother, whispering, "Stay with me, mother, please." The mother dragon's eyes opened weakly, glowing faintly, as if she understood. The mechanic placed the machine near the infected area on her chest. He took a deep breath. "If this works, it will hurt," he said softly, almost to himself. "But it will save you." Then he pulled the lever. The workshop filled with a blast of energy, a sharp wave that shook every wall and shattered glass. The mother dragon roared in pain, her body thrashing as the black wires under her scales began to glow and twitch. The infection fought back, pulsing wildly, but the machine burned it with wave after wave of energy. The smell of smoke and burning metal filled the air. The baby dragon cried out, holding onto its mother, whispering, "Stay strong." The drones, sensing the attack, screamed louder and charged. One flew straight at the machine, trying to destroy it. The mechanic threw himself in front of it, swinging the rod again, knocking it down. Sparks flew as the drone crashed against the floor. Another drone fired at him, the beam missing by inches and burning a deep hole into the wall behind him. Sweat dripped from his face, his arms heavy, but he kept fighting, kept protecting the machine. The baby dragon leapt forward, flames shooting from its mouth, hitting one of the drones in the chest. The machine burned, falling to the floor in pieces. The baby landed back beside its mother, its body shaking from the effort but its eyes burning with courage. Together, man and dragon fought side by side, holding back the swarm of machines. The mother dragon's body shook violently as the infection screamed inside her. The wires burst from her skin, sizzling and snapping as the machine's energy fried them. With one final surge, the infection shrieked and collapsed, black smoke rising into the air before fading away. The mother dragon let out a roar so powerful the walls shook. Her eyes opened wide, glowing with strength once more. The drones froze for a moment, their red lights flickering. Then with one mighty swing of her massive claw, the mother dragon crushed the nearest machine, sending its pieces flying across the workshop. Fire burst from her mouth, stronger than before, consuming another drone in flames. The mechanic fell back, staring in awe as the dragon, once weak and dying, rose up with new power. The remaining drones shrieked, their red lights flashing wildly. But it was too late. The battle had turned, with the baby at her side and the mechanic's machine still humming with energy. The mother dragon destroyed the last of them with a roar that echoed across the night. Silence filled the workshop once more, broken only by the sound of heavy breathing. The mechanic dropped the rod, his arms trembling. The baby dragon rushed to its mother, pressing against her side, its eyes full of relief. The mother dragon lowered her head toward the mechanic, her glowing eyes locking onto his. For the first time, he saw no weakness, only strength and gratitude. The mechanic stood there, chest heaving, realizing what had just happened. He had saved her. Together they had survived. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Whoever had sent those drones would not stop. They would come again, and next time the war would be bigger. The workshop was filled with the smell of smoke and broken metal. Pieces of drones lay scattered across the floor, their glowing red eyes now dark and lifeless. Sparks still crackled from shattered wires, and the walls were scarred with burns. The mechanic stood in the middle of it all, his chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His hands were black with soot, his arms trembling from the fight. He had never faced anything like this before, yet somehow, against all odds, he had survived. The mother dragon slowly lifted her massive head, her eyes glowing brighter now, no longer clouded with weakness. She was still tired, her body scarred and cracked, but her strength had returned. The infection was gone. The black wires that had once pulsed under her scales were burned away, leaving behind marks but no life. She let out a deep, steady breath, this time strong and powerful, shaking the air around her. The sound was not of pain anymore, but of life. The baby dragon cried out with joy, rushing forward to press itself against her chest. "Mother!" it shouted, its small voice filled with relief. Tears glowed in its eyes as it nuzzled against her scales. The mother lowered her head gently, curling her wing around the baby like a protective blanket. For the first time since she had entered the workshop, there was peace in her eyes. The mechanic stepped back, watching them. His heart felt heavy, but also lighter than it had in years. He had done it. He had saved her. He looked at his machine, the coils still humming faintly, glowing with the last of their power. It had worked, though it had nearly cost him his life. He couldn't believe it. He had built many things in his life, cars, engines, broken gadgets, but this was different. This was life. The mother dragon turned her great head toward him. For a long moment she just stared, her eyes glowing like fire in the dark workshop. The mechanic's breath caught in his throat. Was she angry? Was she about to strike? But then something happened he never expected. The massive dragon lowered her head until her snout touched the ground at his feet. It was not a threat. It was respect. The mechanic froze, unsure how to respond. But the baby dragon's voice explained softly, "She bows to you. Dragons bow only to those they trust. You saved her life. You are no longer just a human to us. You are family." The mechanic's eyes widened. A dragon bowing to him. It felt unreal, like a dream. Yet here it was, real and undeniable. He swallowed hard, his throat tight. "I just did what I had to do," he whispered. The mother dragon let out a soft rumble, almost like a purr, though it shook the entire workshop. The baby dragon smiled, its eyes glowing brighter, and then it did something unexpected. It leapt forward and hugged the mechanic, wrapping its small arms around his leg. The warmth of its glowing body spread through him, chasing away the cold fear that had lived in his chest for so long. For the first time in years, the mechanic smiled. Not a small smile, but a real one. He placed his rough, oil-stained hand gently on the baby dragon's head. "You're safe now," he said quietly. "Both of you." But deep inside, he knew it wasn't over. The drones hadn't come by chance. Someone had sent them. Someone powerful enough to build machines that could infect and kill dragons. And if they had found the mother once, they would find her again. His workshop was no longer safe. The thought tightened his chest. He looked at the broken drones on the floor, their metal bodies still smoking. They were just scouts. There would be more. The mother dragon seemed to understand too. Her eyes lifted to the broken windows, scanning the night sky. She let out a low growl, not of pain but of warning. She knew the fight wasn't finished. She had survived, yes, but survival was not victory. The true enemy was still out there waiting. The mechanic walked to the doorway, staring at the horizon. The night was quiet again, the stars shining brightly as if nothing had happened. But he knew better. That silence was only the beginning. Whoever controlled those machines would not give up. They would come back stronger, faster, deadlier. And next time, the battle wouldn't just be inside his workshop. It would be everywhere. The baby dragon walked up beside him, its glowing eyes watching the stars. "They will come again," it said softly, almost reading his thoughts. The mechanic nodded, his jaw tight. "Yes, and when they do, we'll be ready." He looked back at the mother dragon. She was rising slowly to her feet, her wings stretching out, filling the workshop with their massive span. Even though she was wounded, even though she was tired, her strength returned more with each breath. She was a force of nature, a creature of fire and power, and now she was no longer alone. The mechanic took a deep breath, his fists clenched at his sides. He had lived a lonely, quiet life, fixing machines in a forgotten town, but tonight had changed everything. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was part of something bigger, something dangerous, something that could decide the future of both dragons and humans. The baby dragon leaned against him, its voice soft but steady. "You will fight with us, won't you?" The mechanic looked down at it, then back at the sky. His heart pounded, but his answer was clear. "Yes," he said firmly. "I will fight. Whatever it takes." The mother dragon roared then, a sound so powerful it shook the earth. It was not a roar of pain, but of warning to the skies above. Sparks of fire lit up the night, spreading across the darkness like a promise. The mechanic stood beside her, the baby at his side, and for the first time in his life he felt ready for war. The night grew still again, but the silence was no comfort. It was only the pause before the storm. The mechanic knew it, the baby knew it, and the mother dragon knew it too. The enemy would return, and next time the battle would not just be about saving one dragon. It would be about saving the world.